We're here on the top of Mount Tolmie, overlooking our beautiful city of Victoria, BC, the traditional land of the Algonquin-speaking people, including the Esquimalt, Songhees, and Wasonic nations, where we live, learn, and raise our families. They say it takes a village, so let's meet them. Families of all shapes, sizes, and stories. Are you ready? Let's go. I need my sass back. If you're doing it all from meltdown to task and still fighting to keep up that sass, friend, I've got you. Hey, I'm Deb, host of Sass and Small Talk, the mental load of parenthood, season 2. As a mom of 2 smallies, navigating life with a neurodivergent family and my own neurospicy brain, caregiving for aging parents, and trying to hold it all together with grace, I know what it means to carry the mental, emotional, and invisible load of parenting. But here's the thing, we weren't meant to do this alone. This season, we're exploring the many faces of parenthood, from single parents to co-parents, blended families to chosen families, and everything in between, right here in our beautiful city of Victoria, BC, and beyond. They're sharing real stories of overwhelm, grief, imposter syndrome, breaking generational cycles with the resilience it takes to keep showing up. Real parents, real families, real stories, because it takes a village to raise a child and a community to raise their parent. Darling, I need my sass back. This is Sass and Small Talk, where we talk about the mental load of parenthood in all its messy, beautiful forms. Today's guest is Katherine Babcock, an artist, homeschool mom, and a Navy wife. She's raising 4 beautifully neurodivergent kids while navigating her own ADHD brain, often solo as her husband serves at sea. Through deployments and homecomings, Katherine has learned to roll with the punches, to anchor herself in creativity, and to find joy in the in-between moments. Her story is one of motherhood, identity, and the quiet strength it takes to hold it all together. This is Katherine. Hi, friend.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. I'm so thrilled because I have to say, I've been wanting to talk to you. I talk to you all the time, but not behind a mic.
In the parking lot. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm excited because we need to know more about this life that you lead. Because you live to tell.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So, you got kids waiting for you at home. So let's just get to it.
Sure.
Who sits at your table?
At my table, I'll have my husband.
Yeah.
And
with everyone home. Sorry. Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah. When he's home.
When he's home.
So I'll have my husband, who is the military member in our house, and then myself. And then I have an almost 14-year-old daughter. I have a set of twin boys that are 9.5.
Whoa.
And an almost 6-year-old
Oh,
boy.
amazing.
So lots of little boys.
I love
everywhere.
Again, she lives to tell.
Yeah. Oh,
I love
yeah.
it. What does your typical day look like in your house?
Typical day. Well, if I haven't hid the TV remotes, somebody has snuck on before I got out of bed. Mostly
I know that
Henry
story
and
well.
watching TV. Which is why we deleted YouTube off our TV. And then, kind of scrounge up breakfast. Usually it's some type of therapy to kind of start the day for one of the children. Maybe some schoolwork in between if we're at that point.
Yeah.
Trying to keep them off screens on a little bit, off a screen. If Jacob has his way, he'll be out in the garden digging.
Oh, he's
no.
got a little green thumb.
Oh, he doesn't have a green thumb. He's a mud thumb.
He's got a mud thumb. He's got a brown thumb. Oh, my. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is fun.
Lots of brown.
Okay, lots of brown.
Everywhere. And so we actually had to buy like a lockbox
Oh,
for
my.
our faucet because he would just go outside and turn that on. And water costs money. And I was like,
That's a thing.
oh, yeah. I'll send you all the links.
I have to.
It's a
Links.
thing. It is a thing. So, yeah, you can literally buy it. It's like a box. It has a key. And
That's
so,
brilliant.
but he's not dumb. He knows where the key is. So he would just go in one time. I don't know where he found the key, but he found the key, took the lockbox off. And I'm like, where's the key? He's like, I would put it under my pillow.
Oh,
Well, at least
she's
you're honest.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just stole it. So it's like putting out Jacob fires, getting people fed and or off the television, and then getting people to point A to point B, and all that in between.
So just busy.
Yeah, I feel like a taxi driver.
Yeah, you're a
And then,
taxi
like,
driver and you're
and
a
a firefighter. Yeah.
firefighters. She is a full-blown multitasker is what
Yeah.
you are. And this is
Gotta be.
with or without Tyson being home.
Well, it's a bit of both. Like, I mean,
Okay.
like he works when he isn't at sea or like posted out anywhere, he is still at work like 8 to 4.
That's right.
So yes, which is great because then like when he comes home, it's like that shift in the day that moves us into, okay, it's dinner time.
Yeah.
Because I hate making dinner. I hate it. Like if my kids didn't have to eat, I'd be like, thank God. Because
Or if you could just order out every single day.
Yeah, if it wasn't $1 million.
Yeah,
Not that grocery
exactly.
stores aren't $1 million now, but it's like, oh man, it's like, and like it makes sense now more to me as I learn about like ADHD in adults, where it's like that's like your burnout threshold for the day is like, yeah, that's when you want a nap. That's when like you've been touched out, talked out, like demanded out, like all of it, right? And so then it's like, oh man, so when he isn't home and he comes in, or like when he's not coming home at like 4:30, then it's like dinner doesn't get to the table till like 7 p.m., which is bedtime, because I'm like, oh, I forgot, or I got sidetracked or side quested to like a million other things.
Well, because your routine was kind of thrown off.
100%. Yeah. So that's one of the hard shifts about like when he's home, when he's not home. So when he's home, it's great because he also likes to make dinner. Praise God. Because I hate cooking. So I married the right spouse.
You
So
did.
I did well because I
Props to Tyson.
hate it. Yeah, no, he's great. Yeah, he's amazing. Amazing.
Well, then when you say that he's not home, or when he is home,
Mm-hmm.
then you're thrown off your routine.
Yep.
But then when he's fully not home because he's deployed,
Yeah.
you're
There's still no routine.
there's no okay. So basically, you don't really have a routine. You just
we
kind of go
of
with it.
roll with
Okay.
the day, which
I
is
like
good
that.
and bad because,
Yeah.
like, you know, having a house full of autistic children, routine is key.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is when you're neurospicy, you just generally don't keep a routine, or you like, you know, like I feel, again, being female, this could be a disadvantage. Like you've got your phases and your cycles,
Mm-hmm.
and like, you know, after your period phase, then you've got like superwoman phase.
Yeah, you've got that.
And you're like,
Yeah.
I could do everything. Like, I'm going to declutter the back room and I'm going to take the shelf apart. I'm going to build this thing and I'm
This
going
is
to
when
build
I don't
this.
hear from her.
Yeah.
She's
Because I'm,
in her.
you know,
Yeah.
buried in all these projects
I
that I
love
was
it.
like stewing on for the last 7 months. And I'm like, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this. And then after that, like, you know, like PMS, like the luteal phase or whatever the heck they call it. And then your period phase, you're just like a couch potato.
Right.
But again, that's
Well-deserved,
also
though.
part.
Well-deserved.
Yeah, well, and it's also because like that's like your recharge time,
Right.
and it's like your nervous system just isn't. Your brain doesn't work the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where it is. Like we'll have like rock star weeks, sometimes 1 to 2 weeks, and then like everything's like banging out.
Yeah.
And then it's like y'all gonna just watch TV for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
now,
And you know
'cause I
what?
can't
You're
do it.
accommodating to your nervous system. You're
Yeah.
accommodating to
Well, theirs
not just the
too.
kids,
Yeah.
but yours too.
Yeah, which is important.
You got to love that. So
Mhm.
let's go back to the idea of you homeschooling. Like with everything,
Mhm.
you've got 4 children, you
Yeah.
have a husband that's not usually there or not consistently there at exactly the same time, like
Mhm,
it changes. So why are you homeschooling? Tell me the
Yeah.
story behind that.
So, like, we had our daughter in traditional school for the first three years, so K1 and 2,
Okay.
and like she always wanted to be homeschooled.
Okay,
and I was
she
like,
wanted
oh,
this.
okay, like I don't know, like I didn't feel good enough, which is interesting
Oh.
because I just like, well, I read a post somewhere on the internet, and it was like, you know, why would you stick your
Everyone
kids
does.
in? Yeah, and where I get all my
Everyone
education.
does, yeah.
Why would you stick your kid into a school system instead of homeschooling them in the system that makes you feel like you're inadequate to homeschool them?
Mm,
Because it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like it's kind of almost like a vicious cycle, right?
mhm.
And so when our twins were born, and like Henry was our first one to get diagnosed, so he's the oldest twin, and he was 3.
Okay.
So like we knew because he was like textbook autistic,
Okay.
like didn't speak, would spin around in circles, like very visual, like easy stimming. I remember we had one toy in particular that was like this giraffe
Mhm.
that you pumped the top and the balls jumped, but the bottom part spun. And
Mm.
he would just lay his head sideways and push it, and he wasn't noticing the balls. It was all about the spinning on the bottom.
Wow.
And then like, you know, lining up the toys and like laying down and like playing on the ground and like
You
just
saw
like
it, you knew
very,
it.
and I knew, well, I asked my mom because she'd worked through the school system like
Yeah.
her whole career, and I was like, Mom, like, what is this? I've never really seen this. And she's like, get an assessment because then you
Doesn't
know
hurt anybody.
doesn't hurt anybody. It's
Yeah.
public, so we didn't pay anything.
Mm.
So we went through VICAN. And then within about a year of like questioning what's going on and getting on the list, he was diagnosed at that time, like the day before I found out I was pregnant with Jacob,
Oh my.
which was our 4th, and I was not in a good headspace.
That's heavy
It was a
times.
lot in like this like 48-hour period, because then it's like when you get a kid diagnosed, then there's almost like a grieving period. Not so much where it's like, oh no, like my kid's like, your kid's your kid. But then it's like the life that you may have anticipated.
For sure.
Like family trips to Disney World. I'm like, heck no, I don't want to do that. That's so much stimulation.
Yeah.
But it's like some of those elements of life that you thought you would have are no longer there.
Could have easy.
Yeah, or easier. You know, family vacations. Oh man, we got to like scaffold and front load and like all these things to try to make sure we don't have like combustion chamber in the van as everyone's exploding because their nervous system is like maxed out, right? I don't know where I was going with that. Anyways, I lost my train of thought.
I like what you're saying is that
Yeah.
you went through this grieving process,
Mhm.
and not your typical grieving process, but it is typical for neurodivergent families
Absolutely.
who
We're getting a
have these
diagnosis.
dreams of
Yeah.
whatever your family looks like.
Oh yeah.
And you had to make that shift as you're bringing him into this appointment, or
Mhm.
did you already know?
Well, we had a hunch. But we didn't really know what autism was at that point, right?
Yeah.
So like once he was diagnosed and I was like, okay, now I need to dig. And so like I found all the books and read everything because this is my brain where it's like, I don't know anything.
So then
Let me
you're the
research.
next
So now
one,
I'm the
what?
hyper focus. Yeah. And then within a year, but then I was like through Henry's diagnosis process, like through his whole assessment, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is Oliver. Like Oliver is doing these things too. And I was like,
His twin.
his twin brother,
Yeah?
which is
Okay.
again very common. If you got one, you got
Yeah.
another, and usually siblings can definitely have some overlapping like that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. So then, by the time, so we got Oliver on the wait list, and then when I went to Oliver's appointment, Jacob was 3 months old, so it was exactly a year to almost the date.
Oh my gosh.
So so funny, because then like Dr. Wellington was the psychologist that did it through Vicam, and so we saw Henry, who I was pregnant with Jacob, and then he saw Oliver a year later, where Jacob was a baby, and then I think a year or two later, he then saw Jacob. So Jacob had been in that office 3 times.
So he's like, this is not my first rodeo.
Yeah, he's like,
okay?
I've seen you guys before.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
yes, you have. So he diagnosed all 3 of our
Incredible.
boys.
It was the same doctor
Same
that
guy.
you got. And you don't choose this.
No,
was
it's just the
chosen
system.
for you.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any other psychologists that do diagnose through Vicam outside of him, but he was wonderful.
okay.
Like
Oh,
I
good.
really liked him. He was really great. And then for our daughter, it was just so much harder to pick up. Like we had a doozy of a first, you do, right? Yeah, of
How old
a
was
first
she?
assessment. She was, I want to say, oh my gosh, how old was she? 8 or 9.
Okay.
Jacob was definitely around.
Okay.
He was a baby, and we had gone over to Port Coquitlam
Okay.
to see this doctor, and it was awful. Like she walked away from the assessment being like, I can't do math and I can't read. I'm like, why do you feel like that? Like that's awful. And so like, and then this doctor also like ignored any sensory input, like disorders or like things. And like, she can't sit bright light, she can't do all this stuff. And so it was like, okay. So then we reassessed her, and then it was like, yeah, okay, we got kind of confirmation that we knew what was going on now. And that was hard because girls often get forgotten. Like, I mean, our entire generations have almost been forgotten. Like, I know so many women now that are like, oh, like, why are things like doing laundry so hard for me? And like, why can't I walk into a room and do the task I actually wanted to do? I'm sitting there now doing 8 side quests because I noticed that they're done. And if I don't do them now, I'm going to forget.
Yeah.
And like, that's me. Like, and that's my mother, actually. Like, I walk in and I'm like, okay, I'm going to come do the dishes. And I'm like, oh, but there's recycling. And then I go into the recycle room. I'm like, oh, but there's laundry. And then I'm like, oh, but then there's like, I forgot to water the flowers. Oh my gosh. And then I'm outside. I'm like, oh, but I got to sweep the patio. And that's like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be doing the dishes.
Get out of my brain, Catherine.
It's just like,
yes.
oh my gosh. So like one day I would just like one train to go through the station, not 8 at the same time.
You've gotten derailed through your life.
Everything.
Oh,
and
gosh.
like looking back now, like having gone through the
Sense.
assessments of my kids, I started to realize, oh, okay, I've got some stuff for myself to unpack here, which is good because, like, again, I mean, as an adult, you can decide, you know, sometimes medication is the route for ADHD, but it's also like being able to kind of heal yourself because
Forgive yourself.
Well, forgive yourself because you're like, oh, I may have made that choice because I was trying to cope or I was trying to self-medicate or I was trying to like
regulate my nervous system. I was trying to calm down.
Yeah, and trying to like figure out, and like, you know, there's so many layers to everyone's brain, and like, but like the neurospicy brain types, like the world's not made for us, but like what's amazing is we are the shapers of the world. Like you look at like Albert Einstein, come on, please. You know, Steve Jobs, like all of these.
Give me
like,
that brain, you know? Like,
yeah, well, I mean, and they have all those extra synopsises. That's why processing takes so much longer.
that.
But like they're also like the, you know, the creative thinkers, the problem solvers. Like they generally are all the artists. Big time. Yeah, that's like because like there's just an ability to see the world in a different light. And so that was a rabbit trail and a half. But you know,
ADHD.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, you know me. I love it. I think you should absolutely celebrate as you go back to this history.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of the grieving process has been replaced with now I'm getting answers.
Yeah. Well, healing because especially for myself, like I find, and even like, and I hope for my kids too, that like eventually they can kind of, you know, like I mean, for my kids, we'd bought in like books like my autism stripe or this, like I'm like autistic. My twins, I was reading with them like, what's autism? I was like, you're like 9, they're like 7 or 8, like they were older, and I was like, I'm not gonna open that right now. Like, you're not even there yet. Whereas like my daughter's very self-aware because of her age, but then it's like the twins are kind of like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, I don't have stripes. I was like, because it's like a story about a little zebra.
I love
that
it.
book?
I love
so
it.
good.
Yes.
And they're like, I don't have an autism stripe. I was like, they're like, because I'm not a zebra. And I was like, yeah. Tell me you have autism without telling me you have autism.
Tell me you have autism without telling me you have autism. I love that. Yeah, but you know the purity in that.
Oh, it's
I gotta
gorgeous.
say the purity, and that's where you hear. And there are times, and I'm going to tell you the truth here because you hear everywhere. Autism is beautiful, and it is beautiful because there is a purity. It's a purity, an innocence that you can hold on to for a much longer time.
Yeah, I agree.
But I also think it's really hard, and it's not always beautiful.
Oh no. Oh. I'm gonna tell you about my recent family vacation. Yeah. Okay. Like we could. Oh yeah.
We can unpack that.
Hard. It's so hard. And like I mean, there's so many layers. Accommodation. Well, one of our kids, we feel. I mean, it's not officially diagnosed because they don't really diagnose it with a PDA profile. Yeah. So pathological demand avoidance. And so that's when any demands like, please go brush your teeth and put your pajamas on, becomes a mega meltdown. Like even last night. It was like they were farting around in their like body socks, like, you know, like, you know, hoping to regulate them. They weren't regulating. They're shoving all their pillows and all their stuffies in there. And we're like,
a little distracted there.
Stop it. Like, get out of the body sock, get your stuff out of the body sock and go to bed. And like, again, this was like repeated. And so eventually it got to the point where I was like demand max and then explosion. And like, you know, you have to think about like, okay, that impacts the other 2 siblings in the room. That impacts the one that's exploding. And the nervous system. And then like he has a really difficult time coming back. Like he's gotten better, but it's like, you know, he's like, he just like has a lot of like self-loathing in those moments. And then like shame cycling. And it's like, how do you, like, that's the ugly side of it. Because like it is so hard. And like as a parent, like how do you protect them in a sense? And like how do you like keep them, like, and they teach them to love themselves, even though, and like, that's where it's like, for me, it's like, I have to go back and learn to love my younger self, you know, like your inner child that's gone through all this stuff. Like I have like crazy stories from when I was younger, like, you know, accidents on the playground at like in the 2nd grade, not because I didn't know how to go to the bathroom, but because I literally couldn't break away from playing to answer my body's request to go to the bathroom.
That's a demand itself.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so like, it's like, so there's a lot there. So yeah, no, autism, ADHD, PDA, like all those acronyms, OCD, DCD.
Things.
We got lots. We have like, we're collecting them all like
yeah.
Pokemon. And so like all of it it's challenging. And I feel like it's even more challenging because like as much as our world loves to claim inclusivity and, you know, we're going to accommodate everybody. They don't. They don't because the system's, we're not there yet. And like the system's just not made for that. Right.
But we're making change, which.
Well, we are. And because like, parents
are.
You have to be an activist for your kid. And, you know, I've had other parents come to me once we had our kids diagnosed and they're like, oh, like my son's kind of doing this. I'm like, get an assessment. Like it doesn't hurt. You go public. It's free. Yeah. And it's like, and they're like, I'm glad I did because now we know what's going on with him. Yeah. And they even like, you know, sometimes it's later with their daughters. I'm like, well, thank God, like, because we chose to do what we did to help our, like, be able to raise our kid knowing the information that we have due to an assessment. Other people can come to us and be like, hey, like, what was this process? What did this look like? Yeah. Now that I have a diagnosis, what do I do? Because let me tell you, mountains of paperwork. Mountains of paperwork.
How did you get through that with your own brain?
My husband.
Oh, that's how we do it.
I'm like,
the secret.
Tyson, I hate paperwork. Please help me.
You do this. I have a neurodivergent brain.
Yeah, like,
it's so true.
my charism is not paperwork or administration. It is creative. Like, I will paint you a picture all about the paperwork. I could paint you a picture of the paperwork, but please don't make me fill it out.
Yeah.
But I have to. And
but
so
early,
like
you've been the representative. You're the one who goes to the appointments because you're home. You're with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's where you're serving the family in that
absolutely.
sense. You share the stories, you share the experiences. Well, that goes back. So going back to everything that you're experiencing, because this is the real deal here. It's not always
sunshine
cute
and rainbows.
easy. Yeah, it's sunshine and rainbows and fidget spinners. But what it is actually.
Fidget spinners.
but it's, I mean, that could be a beautiful orchestration of noise and all that wonderful stuff. But it's also really, really hard. And there's a lot.
It's heavy
stuff.
Very, very heavy, especially when you're solo parenting.
Okay, so I want to talk about that because so you're choosing voluntarily to homeschool, also based on your experience and why you have.
Oh yeah, that was the original question.
That was the question.
How did you get
this
to
show's about
homeschooling?
ADHD? Okay, so
that was the roundabout long answer. It was
okay,
once the twins got diagnosed, we're like, we're not going to stick them in the school system because then you lose all that access to funding. So when you homeschool, you could actually, the school, because you're homeschooling, has that funding, whether it's like $14,000, $16,000, whatever, and they say, where would you like to delegate this? Whereas if you're in a brick and mortar school, they're like, sign the papers because we're going to use that funding. It's going to be spread out through the school.
Yeah.
And so you might get an EA if your child needs one, but like generally supports don't look the same.
Yeah.
So like we're always going to homeschool the twins.
Okay.
And so when Jacob was born, Tegan was 8. And so that was the year we decided to homeschool. So we had like a brand new baby, but Tyson was off for 4 months because I stay at home, there is no need for me to collect maternity because I ain't working a job. I am working a job, just, not paid.
Yeah. That's a job.
I'm earning money by not spending money. That's not true either.
That's also not true.
That's not really true. But, we the pillar, whatever. Whatever you want to call it. Anyways, and so, man, my brain today.
No,
it's like
I love your brain.
Fuzzy.
I love your brain. And you know why? You know why we love your brain is because this is the reality behind it.
Yeah.
You have had to deal with so much layers of like the decisions, the advocacy.
Oh,
you know? And then also on top of it, having to deal with your own and not having your spouse there consistently all the time.
Yeah. Which is
providing
tough.
For your family. So of course you're holding fort down.
Yeah.
It's already hard to hold the fort down
with both of us.
With just with a nuclear situation where they're at home and we're just sitting there and
like Homer Simpson at the nuclear station.
Yeah, that's the tough. I'm picturing. That's exactly what I'm picturing is Homer Simpson. Get out of my brain. Get out of my brain.
It's in there.
I pictured that too, and that's not how it is at all. You're the exact opposite. And then on top of that, you are learning at home.
Yeah.
So how does that look like then?
Oh, well, about like 2 months of the year, we're like solid. Like we're in the books and we're good. But I mean, it's 2 months of 10 months. So it's not very good.
September and October.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Like we're going to do this. You're so good. We got everything in place. And then it all like crumbles by Thanksgiving. And you're like, is it Christmas yet? I think it's Christmas break.
No, Halloween. I know Halloween's your favorite.
And then Halloween to Christmas is like no school.
Yeah.
Well, we do school, but like, again, school not in the traditional sense, right? Because like I am all about like project-based learning.
Yes.
Like project-based learning.
Hands. Okay, I just want to take the moment here to pull out a very important part of our conversation. My dear friend Katherine here, if again, tell me you have neurodivergence without telling me you have neurodivergence. I appreciate this. And she was going to hide this little baby, right? And I said, put that on the table and use it. So she did. And then she squeezed it to pieces. And I don't know if it's nerves or the caffeine.
But both.
But it broke. Whatever. I want this here to remind us that sometimes
it's my ADHD item.
Yeah, it's your item. Yeah. And you know what? No shame, you need it. And this is the kind of stuff.
Fine, yeah.
We need this. We need some color on this table. And that's what we got. And so you are taking care of yourself as well as scaffolding everything for the kids at for school. I want to bring up a term that I don't know if this is exactly what you're doing, but are we calling this unschooling?
Yeah, I think, well, for unschooling, like almost like,
Yeah,
I'm
unschooling.
unschooling. I have to unschool first as the parent.
Okay.
Because like, I was raised in a brick and mortar school, and like my mom says all the time now, she's like, if I could redo it, I would have taken you home.
Really?
And my mom was a teacher.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I feel like we would have had a better success. And like the benefit to homeschooling, as much as it is like a serious struggle, like I think the social aspect was what really was tricky to work around, because I have so many different needs within our kids. And then it's like, okay, I need to find all the neurodivergent homeschoolers that I'll have these kids that
And
like
that's
to side
how we
play.
met.
Exactly. That's true, actually, right?
Well, that's
Because
how
our
we got
girls
close.
connected.
We've already known each other.
But then it's like, I have got my son, who's the youngest.
Yeah.
And he loves the Titanic. And he was supposed to be kindergarten this last year.
Right.
Okay. And like kindergarten. So, ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. The kid refused. And I mean, like, he's so spicy. Like, it's hot tamale, like fiery bookend. Like, Lord, why'd you pack 5 kids into one? What did you do to me? And he's like, I ain't do alphabet. I did no alphabet. But he could tell you all the stats in the Titanic.
Oh, yeah, he's
because he's brilliant.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you also need to learn to read and write. Like, this kind of key, because then you could study more. But he could tell you all about the Carpathia that saved all the people from the Titanic, and the Britannica and the Olympia.
These are the
and like
things
all
that
these...
we should know. Now, let
Yeah.
me ask you, did you use that?
Oh, to help him? Oh, yeah. We've had like,
yeah.
he's got a BI respite worker who's come in and like literally redone the alphabet with the Titanic and an iceberg.
With
And so,
the Titanic.
so that's what I mean. Like, that's the beauty of
Yes.
like, homeschooling is like you can take their hyper focus and now use it to teach everything else around it.
Yes.
And say your kid like loves trains. I'm like, sweet, let's go to Heritage Acres where you can ride on a little train. We can learn about history. We can learn about social studies. We can learn about science, because there's a forest. So like
fun.
you can literally like take school anywhere,
Yeah,
which is what we did. Like
yeah.
we did drive across the country while my husband was deployed.
Yeah.
Like my favorite place to do school is the beach. Because I love the
Okay.
beach. Because the beach is really good for the nervous system.
Right.
The waves, the sensory inputs. It's relaxing. I love the beach. I like to collect stuff off the beach.
Yes, you
The
do.
kids like the beach. They go in, they go out. They like the water.
It's good
So
for.
it's just very good for them. But then there's lots you can learn about the beach. Like
Yeah.
we've talked about all the different types of birds and like the tides and like the seashells and what lives inside of them and why you shouldn't step on those holes because you get water up your
Yeah.
butt because those clams be
The
spitting.
practical stuff.
Yeah, things weird looking things. But anyways, yeah, the practical
Yeah,
stuff.
the practical stuff.
But I mean, yeah, so like that's like we definitely decided, because we had neurodivergent children, that we were going to homeschool so we could better access the funds that were available.
Now that's another thing is
Yeah.
is with the access to the services, you don't always have to carry the
All the load.
schooling and the load and the
Yeah, so you're able to kind of, if you can find the right fit, 'cause
Yeah,
that's the hardest
that's the
part,
hard
is finding a fit that works for your kid when it comes to what their needs are, what they like, what you're doing. And like we'd find a place and then it wouldn't work, and we'd find a place and it wouldn't work. And so like it's pivoting. If I had
So
to
you're a
like pivot,
pivoter.
I'm a pivoter in like basketball and all over
Yeah,
life.
I
yeah.
love that.
I used to be really good at pivoting in basketball.
I'd
'cause I
love to
did
see
play
it.
back in the day,
I'd love to see
20
you play
years ago.
basketball.
Don't talk about it. Yeah.
This is what I love about you is that you are seeing kind of like you're a visual person.
Very much.
And so the visual pivot,
Mm-hmm.
hence basketball, right?
Yeah.
The visual pivot for you is what you are doing to cope
Yeah.
with everything that you are dealing with and
Mhm.
being flexible enough, which is actually very kind of opposite of like the structure, the routine of a neurodivergent brain, specifically
autistic
autism.
one.
Yeah. ADHD brings you to that. So
Which is why I think it's like the ADHD is this one. Like it's a combo sucker.
tough
So it's which
one.
then it like fights itself.
fights itself.
Because like I do like routine, and I do
Yeah.
I do like, predictability, and I do like rigidity, and I don't like to be flexible all the time. But then at the other side of me is like
but I have to be flexible.
I also really like spontaneous stuff.
You
And
do.
so like, with like personality quizzes, I'm like, I'm all over the freaking place. I don't know what I am. I'm all of it. Like,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
put
yeah.
all for all of it. And they're like,
all. Yes.
You're broken. Oh, yeah, no, I'm
No,
just
but
different.
I love that. I almost feel like the autism actually saves the ADHD from itself sometimes, and vice
Totally.
versa.
Absolutely. Like I
It
think
saves itself.
it kind of, well, if you can find that like balance,
Dance,
which is
yeah.
funny, is like,
is
zodiac
a
wise, I am a Libra. So it's kind of funny that it's like, oh, look at me and my scales. Like, not that I buy into that, but anyway.
I love that
yeah.
though.
But it's important too. And like, I've definitely learned to roll with the punches.
Yes.
And having twins
You have to.
did that to me.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
You
yeah.
have one way to go, 2 ways to go.
They taught
You
you
either go
this.
like, roll with the punches and don't die, or
Yeah,
become so uptight your head explodes and now you still have twins. So like either way,
Either way,
keep
it's
the
like,
babies,
yeah,
but you got to figure it
you
out.
got to figure it out. Yeah.
And so like, yeah, I probably became way more like, "Oof." And like, that's generally how I try to be, but I might come like that on the surface, and underneath that's like
You're
a duck
suffering
on
in
water.
there.
Like
Yeah.
you're like freaking out and tweaking. Like I remember I had to go.
I've seen you tweak.
I tweak
I
sometimes.
tweak with you. Come
Yeah,
on.
you're like,
It's all good. It's all good.
and it's okay, but it's so funny because like
Hard.
I was going to go do something, and like I hate entering into new social settings if I
Right.
don't know anyone. Like I had to go
Really?
meet Tyson up in Nanaimo for Canada Day or something. Yeah, it might have been Canada Day. Yeah, anyways, because his ship was up there.
Okay.
And I was like, I didn't really know where I was parking. I didn't know anyone on the boat, and other than him, but he's the captain at the time. So like, I was like, oh man, like you're not gonna have time to talk to me. Like, who am I gonna hang out with? And so like, all of this is like underneath the surface, and I'm like panicking, but like super internalized. And my daughter looks at me, she's like, "You're anxious right now?" Like, I can't tell. I was like, girl, that's because I've had practice hiding it, like
mask
ever.
queen.
Like, well, yeah, because you kind of have to be. Like, I mean, shouldn't say you have to be, but I grew up having to be.
Yeah, having to.
And so like, you know,
that
you
was
didn't-
your coping.
yeah, well, and like that coping over time can lead to
Really
not
hurt
so great
Yeah.
things, because then it becomes too much, becomes too heavy to carry,
Yeah.
and now you're looking at drowning it out, so to speak, whether that
Burnout.
be burnout, but then like alcoholism
And
is a
alcohol.
huge one. A lot of people with ADHD will suffer from that, and like I have, like I'm
Mm.
almost 5 years sober now,
Oh,
which is like a great choice, and like thank God for my husband,
Yeah.
because like, you know, I hit a rock bottom point where it was ugly, it was really bad, and like he's like, I think you need to quit, and I want to quit with you. And I was like,
oh, bless.
and like he does not have a drinking problem. The guy can have one beer and be fine. Like, but if I have anything near me,
Mm.
I need to drink it. Like I have
That
no
became your coping. Yeah.
yeah, but I have no brake. I have no brake pedal. Like there's
Yeah.
no stopping. Like I can't just have one drink and be happy. I'd be like, well, why would I stop? There's
Why
like 5 more in the
not?
fridge.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna drink them all because
It's a
they'll taste
dopamine.
good.
It's a
innit?
liquid dopamine.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so God bless him. Like he was like, no, I'll quit with you. And so
Oh, bless.
when he was deployed, he had one beer when he was in Korea because the table just ordered.
Oh,
And
no.
he sent me a picture, and I was like, "What did you be? What are you doing?"
How
He's like, "I've
dare
never touched alcohol ever again." So
Oh,
I was like, "Thank you." I was like,
oh,
kind of
love.
lost in my stuff because I mean, we're also far apart, right? Like he's on the other side of the world in Korea,
Yeah.
and I think we might have been road tripping at that point across. So I'm somewhere in Canada, and it was just like already like, ugh, and it was hard. It was hard. It's still hard today. Like
I
think
want to
we
talk
quit.
about this. Let's unpack this because
Mhm.
what's very unique about your situation, yes, the homeschool, yes, the neurodivergence, but now we are talking about solo parenting, a
Yeah.
distance relationship with the one you love,
Mhm.
who has grounded you in so many ways. You've grounded each other.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But and especially
Oh, he's an
those
anchor for me, for
years. Yeah, he's your anchor.
Mm.
Pun intended. Pun
Yeah.
intended. But the
Big
fact
time.
that you have to be physically away from him for a good reason.
Super
For a good
hard,
reason.
yeah.
Take me through that. How is that with you emotionally, or the mental load of that?
It's definitely hard because like we definitely share a fair amount of the mental load when we're together.
Okay.
Like he's really good. I mean, it's the horrible question. I'm like, what's for dinner? Like, I don't know. So when I'm on my own, I'm like, well, I guess I get to just decide. Like,
Wait, do you like that? that
no,
you get
not
to
really. But yes.
But then
no.
it doesn't have to be
'Cause
some epic dinner. Like you're
Well-
okay with giving a little bit of breakfast for the
breakfast
kids.
dinner's my favorite.
Yeah.
Thank God for boxed waffles. Are you kidding me? I'm
That's what
into
they're
it.
made for.
Like, what do you guys want for dinner? Breakfast? Perfect.
Let's
Yes.
do it.
Next,
But-
we're gonna
but
do
when-
cereal.
but
Yeah.
when- Hey, no shade on that because that's
I
happened
ain't
before.
throwing shade.
But what does but when you have Tyson home, does that change? Does that shift?
Oh,
Like,
totally
you
shifts.
Definitely
It's-
cannot
It's just
make
because
that.
then, well, no, because
Okay.
we still do because we're tired.
Okay, because you're tired.
But I mean, like it's more of like communication. Like
Okay.
it's like now we're sharing that. So it's like, what do you want for dinner? Well, I don't know. I kind of feel like this. Okay, well, let's make that.
Huh.
And like, I mean, he'll carry the majority of the meal
Yeah.
all the way through. Like, especially because right now he's off because in 2 weeks he's going to Toronto. He's going to be posted for 10 months. So pray for
10
me
months.
because I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna try not to lose
I'm
it.
gonna hold your hand.
Hold
for
my
it.
hand, wipe my tears
Yeah,
because
wipe
I'm gonna
your
need
tears.
all
Oh,
of it.
mama.
Because it's gonna be rough.
That's
gonna
your
be rough.
longest?
It will be our longest. And like he'll be home, like he leaves the 16th. He'll be home around Thanksgiving. He'll be home for a week around Remembrance Day. He'll be home most of December, some of January. Then he's not back again till March. And then I think in May, and then he graduates in June. So it's almost 8 months
This
total.
is for learning. This is
master's. Yeah, so the staff college. So he's in Toronto going to school.
Congratulations. That's kind of
Yeah,
amazing.
it's huge. Good for him, right? Like, I mean, like, good for you. Can you just do it at home?
Yeah,
That'd be
can we
great.
just not
Can you
leave,
just
though?
be here?
Could Toronto just be here? Yeah.
Not that, and like we didn't want to move our kids because
Yeah,
like,
that's-
10 months is not long enough. And like we have a really good team. Like we have an OT we love. We have an SLP we love. We have a BI that we work with. We have a play therapist. Like we have our team.
Okay.
And it's so like they fit. Like, like it's taken us years, but I really feel like we have found the pieces. And I'm like, okay, so this is our team. This is who's working with everybody. We don't want to shift that.
Can I ask you a question? Just
Yeah.
because there are a lot of military families, Navy families here in Victoria.
Oh yeah, big time.
So typically when they do up and leave, that is the reason they have longer deployments or they have longer,
Well,
they're
they get
going-
posted.
They get
right?
posted is what
Yeah.
they're called.
So he's technically posted, but it's IRL, I think it's called. So
Okay.
it's like learning distance or whatever.
Okay.
So when the family stays here and the military member gets posted out.
okay.
So because it's only 10 months, I mean, you can
Is
do.
that called only 10 months? Like I know
Yeah.
some families who've left and then
Oh,
they
for
came
years.
right back.
Oh yeah, like some people do IRL and they're gone for 2 years.
Okay.
Like I know somebody that's in the military and he went to
It's still
Australia and
pretty
left his family
short. It's
here.
not that big.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not though. Like I mean, when I look at like when Tyson deployed for 6 months, which was the longest. Like Jacob was only 2, almost 3. So that
Comes
was
back.
like the majority. That was a big chunk of his life at that
Well,
point.
it's long
right?
for us, like for your being apart. But what I
but
mean
for
is
like a little guy,
it's short to
so-
bring. Like it's short
Yeah.
is in to relocate your family.
Oh yeah, it's not worth
2
it.
years is short. 6 months is shorter.
Yeah, so
10
you
months is
generally
short.
yeah,
you
so
just have to live apart.
you
That's
do
long.
you do have to live apart,
Oh,
and like technology has definitely
heart.
helped. Like
Yeah.
when we were first dating, oh my gosh, was that 2012? I would think was the first time he deployed.
Oh, okay.
And so we had been together for about 4 months.
Oh goodness.
And then he deployed for 4 months. And in that 4 months, I had gotten really sick. I was actually diagnosed with Graves' disease. So that's a hyperthyroidism autoimmune disease. And so I was sick. I had to move back into my parents' house, which
Oh.
was like the pride swallow of my life. I'm like, I'm never going back. It's not because I don't love my parents. It's
we
because
love you, Mom. We love you,
I
Dad.
like my space.
Mhm.
Like I pride myself on not
Yeah.
needing help if I don't need it,
Mm-hmm.
which could be a bad thing when you do need help and you're not. You're
But you
too
were a young
prideful to
adult
ask.
still. I mean,
Well, yeah,
this is
totally,
your time
because I
to
would have
be alone
been
and
like
stuff,
23,
right?
24,
Yeah.
right? I'm not old.
You were like craving this moment. But
Yeah, and also like I just didn't want to need it.
Yeah,
Like I
sure.
wanted to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Which obviously wasn't the case. And so like we were away for 4 months, and in that 4-month deployment, like this is 2012. Oh my gosh, ew, that's like 13 years ago. Oh,
Don't remind me.
Ooh,
I didn't want to bring that up. I was
Yeah,
like,
we don't do the
I
math.
had
Don't do the math.
The baby's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I feel so old.
So like technology wasn't the same. Like
No.
now there's Wi-Fi on all the ships. We have WhatsApp. We can send photos. We can do videos. We can do video chat.
Okay.
But back then it was emails.
Oh,
And like
Lord.
so like you're trying to
And
like
that's
sit there and like
botchy and not
botchy all the
yeah.
time, and like and like communication through words is very minimal for what we actually communicate. Like communication is layers
Yeah.
of like verbal in like inflections in the voice,
wanna see
body
your
language,
face, yeah.
facial expressions,
Totally.
micro expressions, like all of that is communication. So
Yeah.
like you can read a text message, and depending on how people use punctuation, sometimes I think people are mad at me if they use a period.
So we're going back to like how you have
Mhm.
these pieces of communication with Tyson.
Yeah.
It was very challenging in the beginning, but now
Huge. Yeah, so now it's gotten better. And like
Okay.
with him going to Toronto,
Yeah.
it's a lot better than a ship, because then like he is in the same place.
yeah, you'll
right?
get
He's
that
in
Wi-Fi.
Canada.
Yeah.
So like he's got internet.
yeah.
And so like we've already said, like we should set up a time in the week that it's like, this is the time we call dad. Everyone
Love it.
have a chance to talk to him.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to him, I was like, how are we going to stay connected with the kids? Because it's easy for me, because I could text them all day long.
Mhm.
I could talk on my phone. They don't have that.
And kids don't love going on.
No, they're not really great on screen. You know what they do? They just play filters,
But
which
to
is
do-
fine. They can do that. Sure, make
They,
dad a
they
pizza
can be a
head, whatever.
giraffe on the, if I, as
or
long as
vomiting rainbows, whatever you want. So as
Vomiting
long as you're
rainbows.
talking and communicating, but like that will be connections. And like I've talked about, like, hey, want to slide some homeschooling in there?
yeah,
Be pen pals and write letters and send packages, because then they can practice their penmanship.
that's where you're.
And then it's
from
not like
learning.
you're learning the ABCs in the workbook that you
Yeah.
hate so much and you won't do because I asked you to do it because
Yeah.
you're PDA and this is my life. And I'm like, please just write a letter and it'll be fine. So maybe we can do that. Like
yeah,
let's
life skill, for
share things. And like I've
sure.
read books. Like there's a book called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman.
Yeah.
Very classic book, but he has a military version.
Okay.
And it's really good because it talks about the 5 love languages. It's like physical touch, quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service. And I can't remember the 5th one because I obviously don't have that one, so I don't remember it. But anyways, he goes through and like, how do you, have physical touch when you're worlds apart from each other? And he's like, like there's like a lot of like connection to like memory and scent.
Yeah.
So like, get them to like have a t-shirt that smells like them.
Do you do that? Do you do that?
I think just naturally I take Tyson's clothes all the time because they're just more comfy. And like generally that's like sometimes that is what I'll do. It's like
a great idea.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
So yeah, and I think it helps and like different things like that. And it's hard because it's like, like by the time like he's gone for a long time and comes back, I'm like, I just need a hug. Like, just give me a hug.
Oh, tell me about these. Tell me this reunion. How does this go for
what's good
kids?
Well, it's adjustment for the kids because again, for the kids, it's kind of like he tends to get snubbed a little bit depending on how communications have been and how the kids have been.
Yeah.
Like prior to leaving, how long he's been gone. And it takes a while. Like I think it's really hard for our daughter to reconnect because again, she's also 13, almost 14.
Yeah.
So naturally she's trying to break away from us anyway because that's the natural progression of teenagers, which is like horrific. So it's different for them, but like we try to make sure that I'm like, you got to do like daddy daughter dates or like, like take time out. Like just the other day, Jacob really wanted to do a harbor taxi tour because you could take the little harbor taxi. And so I was like, Tyson, take him on it. Like, don't like, I take him everywhere. He literally is glued to me. He doesn't want me to go anywhere without him, little Jacob. But I mean, that's fine. But I'm like, I also would like you to be glued to your father a little more, right? Because it'd be good for their relationship.
Absolutely.
Because like he's so young, like really Tyson's been in and out almost for the last 5 years. So the majority of Jacob's life, because Jacob's a 2019 September baby.
Yeah.
And like the COVID thing.
Oh.
And then that kind of like everybody was kind of locked and loaded for about,
he was home, right?
He was home for that.
Okay.
Yeah, you thank God. Because there were ships that were just like hanging out in the inner harbor. I would have lost my mind.
I would have lost it with you. That's just so sad.
Yeah, so it was horrible. And like, I mean, hindsight, now we know maybe that wasn't the best plan, but it's fine. We're here. We're here now.
Yeah, we're here.
But then so like it was really good for them to have that time together. And so like, and like he'll take Tegan out on like ramen dates or like dinner dates and whatnot. And like, so like just trying to like find things that the kids like to do. And like separately, like always one-on-one, because like with 4 kids that's hard.
Okay,
it's like money, but also like time, and like so they don't always, and like they'll play video games together, like the twins and him, like they have a whole Minecraft world that they've built, and the little houses are all connected through secret tunnels. I'm like, I don't know, everything looks like blocks to me. This is boring.
I'm surprised you're not a gamer. I don't know why.
You know why? Because I binge game. Like I will like.
Oh, you have.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh,
so you're not like ignorant like me. I know nothing.
No, like I like the Lego games. I love the Lego
those are
games.
fun.
And like I was doing like Luigi's Mansion, like number 3, because that one's really good. Like, but like I also like cuss like a trucker when I'm playing because the stupid remote. It's the remote's fault. It's not me.
Let's take this moment to congratulate Katherine for keeping her curses to a very to a minimum. Not even a minimum. It's like 0.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. This is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
I'm very proud of you.
Have moments.
But it started with your gaming. No, just kidding.
Yeah. Well, if you open that box, now we're screwed, right? Yeah. So I would game, but like I definitely have like that binge mentality. Like if I'm video gaming, like I'm like I'll keep playing until my eyeballs are square and I can't see straight anymore. And then it's like, oh, it's 4 a.m. I should stop. Or like, but I'm like that with TV. And this is why my husband's really good, because he's the anchor. And he'll be like, he can literally, like, we were just watching The Chosen, like the season 5. He stopped it right before the last episode. And I was like, how do you do that? How do you go to bed not thinking about it?
You just
well, I was kind of like irritated because I'm like, why don't you just watch it? He's like, it's 11:30 at night. It's a 40-minute show. Like, do the math. Like, we'll be up till midnight. Like, past midnight. We'll be up till 1 watching TV. We have kids. Like put the pieces together, lady. And I was like,
I guess so.
Yeah, see, he's the logical one.
Practical.
He's very practical. He's very practical.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, because there could be, to some degree, a free-for-all when you are alone with your kids.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just be honest.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, you're accurate.
Okay, because that's with me, with
it's a madhouse.
9 to 5. There's a little bit of a madhouse, and around like half an hour before I have to pick up my guy, just in a day, things change. That's when I get like, ooh, I better start cleaning. Okay, no, the truth is,
I better go shower. It's been 3 days. I'm just kidding.
But let me ask you, when they come back, that or when he comes back, the typical thing is like reunion, happy, everyone's, there's an adjustment. Let's go back to that adjustment.
Yeah.
Is it sometimes a negative adjustment in a way, like a difficult adjustment?
It is, for sure.
As far as
Well, for both of us too,
Okay.
because like now it's different. Like if he's been on a ship, like
Okay.
like an adjustment from a deployment, where like I remember, it was rough after the 6-month deployment
Really?
because it was just like it's a really long time apart. He came home right before Christmas, so then like I was like, well, he thank God did most of the Christmas shopping, so I can't give him anything in Japan, which we were all that was great. I was
bring
like,
me with you.
yeah, right. I'm like,
Gosh.
yes, you're doing Christmas shopping this year
Mhm.
overseas because we have way cooler stuff.
Brilliant.
Which is great. But then like it is an adjustment and like it's hard to not like hold resentment because they've missed things, which sounds really like kind of
Okay.
hard where it's like,
No.
I can't hold it against you that you've gone for your job.
Yeah. And it's
And I can't carry that resentment and allow like the kids to be impacted by it. And
Yeah.
that's something like early in our
Mhm.
marriage. Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm.
I was like pissed. I was spiteful. I
Mhm.
was very immature. Okay. Emotionally not very smart. But I mean, we're like
No.
almost 11 years married now. I figured some
Yeah,
things
we
out.
Figured some stuff out.
Figured some stuff out. A
Okay.
few more kids
We're gonna
in.
give ourselves some grace.
Yes. Exactly. And so like now it's a little bit better. But like, yeah, that from a deployment, it's really hard because like his whole world is in that ship.
Yeah.
Right. So like his whole rhythm is in that ship.
Okay.
Everything is
And it's
in that ship.
structured
And it's
to-
structured.
Okay.
And like, depending where he is in his ranking and where like each deployment's different because
Yeah.
you progress in your positions or whatever. I don't know all the terminology or acronyms, so don't ask me. I'm like, they
I won't
speak another
remember.
language.
Yeah, I wouldn't
It's
remember.
wild. And so, yeah, like that part is tough. But like, when he's only gone like a week or two or a month and
Oh,
a bit, then it's a lot easier because it's like there's a few days of adjustment where it's like, okay. And I remember like recently, like he had because he was just the captain of the Nanaimo, which was a smaller boat. Ship, not a boat. Anyways, yeah. So like he had just done like Portland Rose Fest. And like because he's the captain, like they did a lot of receptions. So they bring like people on board and
Yeah.
it's a lot of like not like schmoozing. I can't even say that word.
Schmoozing?
Not like even that, like, but it's like
It's a bit
like
of
a bit of like publicity.
Yeah.
Like positive publicity for the
100%.
military,
Oh,
which is great.
well deserved.
Yeah. And so, and I was like, he came back and he was only back for like 4 or 5 days. And I was like mad because I was like, you're not doing anything. And he's like, I'm just really like, and like, he didn't really tell me to the end that he's like, I'm just so tired. He's like, I'm just so tired. Like the receptions are a lot, like going up the river, like, cause they got to drive up the river or whatever. Like it's a lot. He's like, there's a lot of stress involved. And like, I just didn't understand it. And like, he said that he didn't really communicate it to me because I was like, we're supposed to have a date night and we're doing this. And I was all mad, like, throwing a hissy fit,
a little hissy.
a little bit of a temper tantrum. And then like, after he'd come back and like, I met up with him in Nanaimo when I was like internally like freaking out on the inside, but I
Yeah.
made it to Nanaimo and had a great time.
I'm pretty
But
impressed.
then, right? Even though I was like
Very impressed.
pooping my boots because I was like not wanting to go into a social situation and not know anyone. I was like, Tyson, meet me at the parking lot. I don't even know where I am. And he did. And it was good. And he walked me in and I was like, okay, now I can handle it. I need my support person. And that's
Right.
it.
And he's your
But
support.
then I experienced what that reception would have been like and like a smaller scale.
Yeah.
Because like in Nanaimo, like he was on the Nanaimo ship in the city of Nanaimo. And it was
Okay.
the last time that ship was going to be up there because now she's going over to the East Coast.
Okay.
She
She is in the ship.
She is the ship.
See,
Yes,
I'm learning.
the Nanaimo.
Yeah.
And so like it was kind of like a really like final celebration for the ship in their like namesake city,
Okay.
which is kind of beautiful on Canada Day. And so like
yeah.
there was a lot going on, and so there's a lot happening at the reception,
A lot of
and
stimulation.
so like a lot of stimulation.
Yeah.
And so afterwards, I was like, I'm glad that I've experienced this with you because now I know what this feels like, and that now I have way more like understanding, compassion
Passion.
to understand like what that was that you went through and why when you came back from Portland you were like a couch potato. And it wasn't just
Right.
because like you wanted to be there. Like I'm sure you wanted to spend time with us, but like you literally were just needing to reset.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just needed your nervous system to be like, ooh, I need to rest, I need to sleep,
Yeah.
I need to like come back. And like it is an adjustment period, and it's an adjustment period when he leaves
For sure.
because like I give myself one day
Yeah.
to cry. Like
Okay.
so usually it's the first day because it's always a freaking Monday. Nobody likes Monday.
no.
Manic Mondays, sad
Manic
Mondays, whatever you want to
Mondays,
call them. Blue Mondays.
yes. That's why there's songs about Mondays.
Yeah, because nobody likes
Don't
Monday.
listen to those. When,
Yeah, I
when he
don't.
walks away.
No,
My
and so I
goodness.
usually give my like because like if not, then like it just kind of follows me through, and I don't want it. I don't want that. I
So
don't
you
want all the
put in a-
sadness following me
Got it.
around. I
You
want to
put-
like pour it out into a sack and bury it under
Good
my
for
bed and not look at it.
you. You allow yourself to cry.
you got to.
Get out.
You got to process it, right?
You do.
And that's kind of what I do. And, you know, whether it's like, I'll watch P.S. I Love You and cry about Gerard Butler dying. So it's like the best cry movie. And like get a tub of ice cream and just be like, I'm alone.
That makes me cry too.
But then I'm like, okay, I can put my big girl pants on and I could do this. And like, I think, you know, I started as a single mother. So like I had my daughter at 22, almost 23. And then Tyson kind of came into the picture when she was like 6, 7 months old. And like Tyson and I have a history. Like we dated as teenagers. I was his first girlfriend, his first kiss. And they dumped me over the phone and I hated him for 10 years.
Oh,
I know it was rough. I've forgiven him.
I didn't know this story.
Yeah.
This getting
Anyways,
juicy.
And so when Teen was like 6, 7 months old, like we're part of a mission group that did windmills in Tanzania. And so like that's how I met him, was actually through this mission group.
Nice.
And then they had like an alumni dinner because it was like a 10-year anniversary from the first trip that went. So he went 2003, I think. Into Tanzania, and he went with my older sister, my brother, and my mom. So he'd been to Tanzania like with my family, like that's how I knew him. And then I went in 2007, which is like crazy. It was so long ago now.
Wow.
And so, which is mind blowing. I could talk about that all day. Like I love mission work. Anyways, and so we came back and they're like, this is like the anniversary dinner. It was 2012. So the first dinner would have been whatever. Okay, math, who cares? Not important part. Okay. Don't get hung up on the details.
Go through it, man. Go through
girl.
it. I love it.
Anyways,
Please.
and so we kind of reconnected at that dinner, and then so I had been a single parent for pretty much the first year of Tegan's life, and I'm like that was like preparation for being a military wife.
Yeah,
because I honestly think that like
solo parent.
Well, yeah, because I have friends that are like, I don't know how you do it. I would die without my husband. Like I need him. I was like, well. Not that I don't need mine, like I do, but I also can't need him the same way that you need yours. Yeah. Because like that is just not our life. I have to put big girl panties on even when I really don't want to, and I want to cry on the couch all day, which I do.
Which you allow yourself,
because I have to.
But you put a little bit of an expiration on that for like to.
Otherwise, I'd hang out there all day and for like weeks, and you just can't do that. Yeah, so like you kind of have to give yourself a space to do that. Yeah. And I find that helps. And then I kind of move on. But yeah, it's definitely, there's moments. And there's moments still where it's like, you know, sadness will always creep in. Like, you know, as we pass birthdays or anniversaries, like this year in particular, like he's not home for anyone's birthday. Oh, not a single one. Oh, and so like, and like for poor Tegan, like she's had, I think 4 or 5 birthdays missed without him. And like Jacob too. And so, like, he'll be home for our anniversary because we got married on Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, well, it's conveniently located. I'm like, that's why you get married on a long weekend.
Yeah, I like that. Good job.
And so, yeah, but like, that's about, and he'll be here for Christmas. Okay. But like, yeah, he'll miss everything else. And like, he's missed his own birthday at home forever. So like, we've had to, you know, delay celebrating things like that or celebrate via online or, you know, it's beautiful though. Like every year, whether he's home or not, he always sends Tegan like flowers. It's so cute. And like little presents and stuff. So like he does his best, you know, and like thank God for technology. Like there's elements of it that I'm like, no thanks. But like there's so much that can be like gleamed as a good thing when it's like, you know, FaceTime, for example. Like you can't see somebody for 10 months because they're not physically in the same location, but you can still see them now. Because we have this crazy technology.
We do.
I remember as a kid being like, we should have TV phones. That'd be so cool.
You should have just brought it to the table. Why didn't you?
What? 6-year-old Catherine could be rich.
Come on.
Who knew it would be a thing? I did, apparently.
You did.
But I wasn't Steve Jobs. So I didn't get it.
But see, and that's where I want to kind of go back to the fact that you've learned how to cope. You're leaning on technology. You're embracing all the emotions that go into it. So you are really helping your kind of the mental load of having to deal with everything that you're doing. Yeah. But there is one thing you did not mention, not one time, and I'm surprised because I thought this is
my art. Yes, my mental health project.
I want to hear about this because I think this is probably we've been talking about the family, protecting the kids.
This is me though.
Now let's talk about you.
This is me. And so it's funny, like I was thinking about this and I've always always been an artist, like since like born from the womb with a paintbrush. Okay,
You
like literally,
were.
not really, but like literally.
I can see it.
So like I remember I have this like poem I wrote, and like I've been like fluffing this thing underneath me because I broke my fidget. So your carpet thing is fidgeting, but then it's fluffing.
Okay. It's okay. I'll be all over your chains. We're okay.
It's all good. I'll just be fluffy when I leave.
That's right.
Anyways, I wrote this poem, and it's like an acronym of my name. So it's like Katherine. K is for Katherine. Artist is what I like to be. I'm 6, right? So it's like that identity has always been rooted in me.
It has.
And so I've always been a drawer. I've always like, I literally have a picture. It's super cute. It hangs in my underneath the stairs studio space because that's the only cabinet I have that holds all 800 hobbies that I have. And there's a picture of me sitting on my, like under my bunk bed. I'm like maybe 8 drawing pictures.
You drawing pictures? So the photo is of you.
Yeah, I should see if I can. I'll send it to you.
I'd like to
send it to you. It's really cute. And then like sitting there in my little, like my mom had like done like a cross-stitched like bunny on my like denim jacket. It's like so like 90s.
So adorable.
I love it. But yeah, so it's always been me. And then like I went to art college. And then I was like 2 or 3 years into the program. Then I got pregnant with my daughter. So I switched my major to motherhood. And then like art kind of got like suppressed, right? Because then like motherhood came into the forefront, and as a single parent, like I didn't have time.
Yeah,
I was like, you know,
that was a hard choice.
Well, yes, because at that point I was at a turning point in the road. It's like which way? I'm like I was never gonna. It wasn't really hard for me. I already knew where I was gonna go because I'm like, well, I mean, a baby's a baby.
We're not gonna
baby, yeah. But like
hard choice, as in it was an easy choice.
It was a choice, but with a massive sacrifice. Because I then had to, you know, box the career path.
You really did, yeah.
And I had to be like, okay, I'm going to raise this child. And like Tyson wasn't in the picture at this point. Yeah, I was like, it's me and this baby against the world. Like, come at me. I'm a mess you up. Yeah, that was really hard. It was really hard not to do it. And it was just like, so I already knew, but like, yeah, it came with a massive sacrifice because I had to drop out of school. So I'm an art school dropout, but still an artist. You don't need to go to college to be an artist. Just FYI. There's a lot of great self-taught ones out there, right?
You are.
And so, but yeah, so that shifted. And then, you know, like I kind of, well, Tyson and I got together. We joined Amway. So like that. MLM. Oh yeah. So again, there's some benefits to that because that actually kind of like some of the things I learned through some of the books I read helped me kind of launch my art business. But some of it was not so great where it's like, hold on, put your dreams on the back burner while you work your butt off to try to like, you know, build this thing, this crazy thing. And so like, I was like, oh, I can't be an artist right now. Can't be an artist right now. Can't be an artist right now. So I kept pushing it. And it got to the point, like after the twins were born, I remember Tegan had like the little kitty art, like easels. Yeah. And like nasty, horrible finger paint. And I could not sleep one night. And I had baby twins and I had a daughter that was like 4.5, 5-ish. And I was just like, I gotta paint. Like I can't sleep. And so like
not paint.
I can't not paint. And like because it's almost like my brain gets like stuck. Like I feel like I picture it as like gears that are like need lubrication. Like I'm stuck here. Yeah. And so I got up and like just took the nastiest. I hate finger paint. I really hate it but like I just needed to like let it out. It has to come out. It has to come out.
And it did.
And it did. And then I kind of like tucked back away. And then I got pregnant with Jacob. So like for a long time, like after I had twins, like I've dealt with like postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety through all of my pregnancies. Didn't know what it was with Tegan. But like I remember just like having like I also had Graves at this point, didn't know it. So like palpitations of the heart was like just part of the deal because like a hyperthyroid just like revs the whole system up. But even with the twins, like we like Oliver was so sick in the beginning. We were in and out of the hospital for the first 6 months between like breathing complications and not getting enough weight. And so like and poor Henry, God bless that child. Yeah. It was just like the little side twin that had to live with us because I was nursing them. So his brother was sick. He was fine, but he had to stay with me because I'm the food source, right? Oh, goodness. And so he's such a trooper, that boy.
Such a trooper.
Love him. I love them all, but like.
I think they all are, though, but yes.
Yeah, special place for him. Oh. And so, so like it was kind of rough. And so, you know, I was kind of going through things. So like I had a friend that was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to tell you 2 things because I was like bad depression, like really, really bad anxiety. And she's like, I'm going to tell you, pick up the one best-selling book in the world, the Bible, read this chapter, read this book out of it, and exercise.
Okay.
Because you need the endorphins.
Feed your mind.
And you need the truth. And so those 2 things, and I was like, okay. And I did. And I was like, okay. And so I had like, I had 6-pack. Okay. It was great. Like I was like dang, like working out like all the time and like had such a good routine and I was great. I was like, yes. And then I got pregnant and I was like, no. It's like, Tyson. He's like, what? I was like,
keep him away.
You know, and then he sailed. And I was like,
sailed. Oh,
that's what
no.
happens.
Oh my
It's like,
gosh.
it's so funny. Every time somebody comes home from a deployment, I'm like, are you pregnant yet? I'm like, every time someone goes to see, are you pregnant yet? Because it's like, that's what happens.
Kind of what
Yeah,
happens.
it's totally what happens.
Par for the course.
Yeah, totally.
Come on.
And so then Jacob became like really hard because I was like, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't expecting it. And I was, I mean, you can't not expect it, you know, but like, there's always like, no, like I just got my body back and I just finally started to
Found
feel
yourself.
human again
Yeah.
because like mentally, like, and like the gap between the twins and Jacob is 3.5 years. So I was probably pregnant when they were about like 2.5.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so the hormones had finally shifted back. Your body is kind of like your own. I only nursed them for like 11 months, which is plenty long for twins. But like, then like Jacob shows up and I was like mentally not okay. Like it was like, I had now prenatal depression where it was like, I couldn't get out of bed. My husband was in and out with his job and he's like, you need to do something. Like you are falling apart. You have kids at home. Like you can't fall apart right now. And so, oh man, I'm crying. What'd you do?
Why wouldn't you cry?
Anyways,
This is a pivotal moment.
it was really pivotal. And so, I was not expecting that.
No, you're feeling
And
it.
so,
I feel you.
oh yeah. Anyways, so he's like, you're an artist, like paint, like just paint. And so, and like, I remember like I went to art college and like did not paint anything that looked like anything. I was like, I'm an abstract artist. I'm not going to paint anything that's human-like. And so it was like my favorite type of painting. It's PG. I just like
PG?
paint my body.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Slam
Oh,
the canvas against
come on. I love that self-expression.
And I was like,
Come on.
and so I went from like that, and now like if you look at my art now, it's all like relatively realistic sea life. So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny how I went from like naked body painting to fish. So
love
there's
it.
a lot of progress in between.
Well, it's nature. I mean,
right?
same theme.
But then it's like those gears in my brain finally were like, oh, here we go. Like we can go. And like, because like there
It's
has
familiar.
to be an outlet.
Yeah.
And it's like for anyone that's struggling with mental health, it's like, please, whatever that outlet is, find it. Like
Find it.
whether it's dance or music or
Embrace
art
it, take
or
it, yeah,
running or
receive it.
punching things or smashing things, whatever it is. Like, and people are like, oh, I'm not very creative. I'm like, then be destructive.
Yeah.
Because like, just like,
Yeah.
because
I
you
get
can
it.
be creative in destruction.
Yeah, you can.
Like, I had someone that's like, oh, I'm just not in the place where I can paint or create. I'm like, so go break stuff.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Like,
That'll create art.
that will
on its
create
own.
art. I mean, people will make art out of anything.
yeah.
Trust me. Trust
Totally.
me. I've been at art college. I've seen tampons in things you
Art.
don't think you should see tampons in. Okay. It's like, what is that?
Art.
Art. Yeah. They called it art. But turned a urinal upside down.
Yeah.
and called it art. Thanks to
Art.
Shop for that one. You guys famous and rich. Anyways. Yeah. So that was kind of the pivotal moment of like, I have to go back to this.
for
And
you.
so, and I
Found your
did. And like,
soul.
it was very much like, I didn't want to paint things. I just needed to like barf it out.
Just barf it
Like
out.
just barf
Yeah.
it out. And
Vomit
it
it
did.
out.
And then it became like a rhythm. And then I found, I mean, it's not hard to find inspiration around here. Like everything is beautiful on the
Yeah.
island. Like
Absolutely.
everything, whether it's the bees and the flowers or the waves hitting the rocks and making that little tinkly noise as it recedes. I love that sound. Like, oh.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
good.
You're getting all the senses
Mhm.
of what you love, which is nature, and then you put it into your art.
Yeah.
And what a gift. That's where
Yeah.
you homeschool. That's where you feel peace. That's where you get
Yeah,
your
exactly.
So you just found your sweet spot right there.
Yeah, it's a niche for sure. And it's a good spot. And like I find that like when I can like get out of my own head and
Yeah.
dump everything out, then
Yeah.
I'm not dumping anywhere else. Because that's the other thing. Like when I haven't had a
Exactly.
chance to
Stress,
unload,
Yeah.
then my kids catch it. And then how fair is that to them? And there's a lot to dump. Right? Because I have my own childhood stuff. I have solo parenting. I have not trying to resent my husband for leaving
Yeah.
and like
So many
understanding what
layers.
that feels like. Yeah. And then like also parenting neurodivergent kids. Anyone that does it knows it's not a cakewalk.
It's not a cake.
It is, you're in the trenches.
You
Like
are in
you
the
are in the trenches, probably getting gangrene on your toes. Okay. It's like rough. And there's beautiful moments.
Sure.
And there's moments that things shine. But my Lord, is it ever?
That's why you
Yeah.
need to make
need an
sure
outlet.
that you need an
You need an
outlet, and
outlet.
some self-love there.
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
that. Now,
Yeah.
let me ask you
Mhm.
one question.
Yeah.
that probably deserves one poignant answer.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure you have many. But let's talk about
Probably.
this. If you had to bottle one motherhood moment that sums up your life and your outlets, I'm giving you a little hint. Sorry, I shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
The chaos and your family life. What would that be, that moment?
I think that moment would be back in February, I just did an art exhibit. It was my first one with one other artist.
Beautiful.
And so, which is why now I'm dealing with like a wrist injury for like the last few ever months.
Yeah, you put
because
your all
I was
into
like, I'm gonna paint 38 paintings in 4 weeks. Watch me do it. I did.
that. And you did it.
And I did.
Yeah.
And it was epic. And it was
It
really
really was.
kind of beautiful because while I was working on these pieces,
Yeah.
I had my little Jacob, who's 5, like being like, oh, I'm a paint too. I want to paint too. And I was like,
Oh.
okay. And I brought his painting, so I'll show you.
I want to see it.
Anyways, so we were painting, and the art exhibit was up in February up in Duncan in the Cowichan Valley Art Council gallery.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like, it was really amazing, to be able to stand back and be like, wow. Like, I dropped out of art college. I raised kids. I solo parent.
Kind of stopped your dreams, and then
Yeah,
you
it paused everything.
paused, yeah.
And then, like, now I can stand
So
back.
cool.
And, like, my friend I did the show with, Colette, I was like, oh, she's a dream. She's a wonderful human. And, like, it was just like so beautiful because like, we worked like separately. Like we never actually worked at the same time in the same
Oh,
space.
you didn't? Okay.
But our work was so cohesive. It was awesome. It
with
was
each
so
other.
good.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was really great. And so one thing I wanted to make sure I put into the show, and it was the first painting you saw, was Jacob's hermit crab.
Oh,
So
my
which one, this
goodness.
one?
No, I'm gonna go.
Oh, this
your
way.
Camera.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so you could see he did the little hermit crab in the show. I helped him with like the background.
Oh.
But then like it was so I have a picture of him like standing below it being like, look at me. But like if
Oh,
it
what a
wasn't
gift.
if it wasn't for like the struggled, like the hard pregnancy
Oh.
that I had, I don't know if I ever would have found that again, right? Like because at that point, it wasn't looking at art. I was like, I'm going to the gym and I'm going to do this. And it's like, I'd almost like shoved that out. So it was almost like, you know, a little God wink to kind of like get back into it. And then it was beautiful to have it come full circle.
It really was. This is your
Right.
last child. So this is this is your youngest.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you went to this moment in your life, which was your first art show, that is already a moment in itself.
Yeah.
But to have it
Like
just
tied, like a beautiful
tied
little
in,
bow.
like a little bow,
a
like a little jakey bow.
Little jakey bow.
And that bow is, it just.
He's the catalyst, right? He's the catalyst to the flame.
Oh.
And it's kind of beautiful that he could be part of the show. Because like I didn't tell him to paint a hermit crab.
So
he just did it on his own.
That's beautiful.
Because he loves hermit crabs. And and it was really like, oh, my heart. Because it was so good. It was so pure.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, and I was like, hey, you have to have a place of honor at the front of the show. So the first painting on the wall
love that.
was Jacob's. And then
so special.
he did. And like, what a cool thing to experience as a 5-year-old. I'm like, I hope you become the next Picasso, but not Picasso, just Jacob.
Just like not Picasso, but Picasso. But bringing him into your world is also the gift in itself too.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
your kids see your art love because you have it displayed like on the ground as you're working.
Yeah, and all over the house because
you're not afraid.
Someone buy it all. Yeah.
I
I have lots for sale. Please buy them.
I love that. Okay, so you have these beautiful children you have to get back to. So I'm going to do this wonderful thing called a fast round, which is spill the Sass. You have to tell me the first thing that pops into your head. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
All right, ready.
I'm ready.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay. One word to describe your parenting style right now.
Lax.
Relax. Lax?
Lax.
Okay,
Not
relax. Just lax.
Like
love that.
a little too laid back sometimes.
Okay, let's go. No, it doesn't have to be too lax. It's it really just is lax. I can embrace that.
Yeah.
One thing you secretly let slide at home.
Chores and
Chores.
probably personal hygiene.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't
Kids must
shower
love
if my
you.
husband's
Oh,
not
there
around.
you go, there you go. Yeah, that too. Right?
He saw my
Biggest
shower.
pet, well, hey, he's not here.
Yeah.
Biggest pet peeve you can just let go of.
Oh, people breathing beside me.
Oh.
Yeah. No, like sleeping. Like
Sleeping.
So like the
sleeping snoring. Oh. Oh. Yeah.
like I don't want to hear you breathing.
Okay.
But you know you're okay because you're not
Okay.
sleeping beside me.
I'm not sleeping beside you. That's a whole other show. Okay. Parenting hack you swear by.
Ooh, parenting hack I swear by. I don't even know. That's a hard one.
That is
I don't have a parenting hack.
Well, I mean, what are some of your go-tos that are quick? Like, how do you trick the system? You got a couple
How do I
tricks
cheat
up
the
your.
system?
You have a couple tricks up your sleeve.
I mean, my calendar is a trick up my sleeve. Like, it's a tool.
That's a
It's a
hack.
key tool. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
A calendar from Costco, those big giant like mom planner ones. And then everyone has a
Bring it on.
color.
Colors.
Because I have kids everywhere. So everyone's
Color
like,
coding.
Tegan's purple, Henry's blue, Oliver's green, Jacob's yellow, I'm
Brilliant.
pink, Tyson's orange.
That's a
and then
hack.
that was like, yeah.
Yeah,
So
embrace
then it's
that
like,
hack.
I can look at that calendar and be like, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here. Rather than like, if it was all the
Visual.
same thing, I'd be like,
It wouldn't work. It'd be too much. Parenting hack. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were stranded on a non-Victoria island, so just an island with just the kids, and let's throw Tyson in there just
just
you
for
know,
fun.
just for fun. He's back from the deployment. What's the one thing that's in your just in case bag? One.
I was going to say drinks, but I don't drink.
Water?
Yeah, water. Like,
No, you're going to be surrounded by water, so you don't need water.
Well,
What would
an
you-
island is
Yeah,
usually in the
just
ocean.
say,
I mean, we're not going to an island in a lake.
We're
Gross.
getting really technical here.
Sorry. Details.
there's
We're lost in the details.
Drinkable water around you. What else would you have in your just in case bag?
Art supplies.
Art supplies.
Yeah.
Okay, I like
think that's what I
that.
do. Because I like going to the beach to paint.
Okay,
Not
I
that I
like
have time right now.
that. So fill your. Okay, I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
All right, scenario. Are you ready? You get some multiple choice because we know ADHDers like multiple choice. You've got a blank canvas, a full cup of kombucha, all right, or green tea or happy juice,
Yeah.
and 30 child-free minutes.
Ooh.
Do you A, start painting something new or touch up an unfinished piece? B, just sit in silence and stare at the wall like the sleep-deprived queen that you are? C, take a nap and relish in those 30 dang minutes. Child-free. Dun, dun,
What I
dun.
would like, I mean, I would like to choose them all, but the one I
first
would
one?
like to choose would be the paint, but the more likely one to choose is the nap.
So real versus desire.
What I would desire is to
Yeah,
paint.
desire
Reality
is
is to
to nap.
sleep.
Good for you. At least you know yourself. Last scenario. This is a good one. Tyson surprises you with a last-minute homecoming after deployment, but it's exactly the same time as your solo night with, your favorite go-to drink, kombucha,
Yeah.
green tea, all your stuff, charcuterie, and a fresh paintbrush in hand, and you've got an art show in 2 days that you haven't started.
Oh,
What do you
I
do?
have to paint.
You have to paint.
Oh, I couldn't do the stress and anxiety of not
Okay.
yet. Even though he's home, I'd be like, okay, I'll give you 20 minutes, and
You
now I'm
do-
coming back to
let me
painting.
So first give them a little bit of like,
yeah,
you get
some loving.
paint and pounds, maybe pounds and paint, right? We've got little pounds and
Maybe
paint,
back
a
and
little
forth.
paint and
Well,
yeah,
maybe a little bit
okay.
of both.
And then take a nap. I'm guessing naps will come after that.
Always take a nap.
Yeah, always take a nap.
When life gives you an opportunity, always take
a nap. Okay,
That's my
that's a
words of
good
advice.
words of wisdom. I was just going to ask you what your words of wisdom
That's
would
it,
be.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. But before we end today, I really would like to take a quick detour. I think this is really important to do because this season we do focus on the mental load of parenting. So I will be talking more to like the primary caregiver, the person at home.
Yeah.
And for that, I want to thank you because you're just a wonderful human
Aw.
with so many layers and so many
like an onion.
your pretty onion material. I tell you. So I do
Oh,
thank
thanks.
you because your strength, your creativity, your inspiration, and vulnerability, it's a gift. So thank you for that. But I want to also take this time to honor someone very special. Honor him. Thank Tyson, who serves
Yep.
and continues to learn how to serve better for all our benefit. So
Yep.
I want to thank Tyson. Behind the scenes, he's doing
A
all
lot.
he can.
Mhm.
Her husband Tyson is a Navy officer. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm right.
Naval officer,
Okay.
yep.
And he's often deployed for months at a time. And so while he's serving and doing his duty and now learning, it takes all that courage, not just to do that, and that's a big one, but
Mhm.
also to leave his beautiful family
Yeah.
to serve. And then we have Katherine, who is holding the fort at home. You're parenting solo. You're navigating neurodivergence,
Mhm.
and you do handle it with grace. I know you think you don't, but you do. And
I get a little help from upstairs.
you get a little help from upstairs. So, bless that, right? God bless.
Amen.
But, you continue to inspire people to find ways through it, to find peace in your faith and in your art.
Yes.
And that's such a gift. So I admire both of you, and I want to
Aw,
thank both
thanks.
of you. I
Please.
really do. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Honor to you guys. Honor to you guys. Bless both of you. Do you have, you just gave your final words of.
I mean,
wisdom.
I could go final
a-
words for
take-
20 minutes.
Take
but
take
yeah.
it now. Let's say that. But how about if you just one quick little words of wisdom to take it home for anybody who's in the crux of military spouseship or being an evil, and then Harding having a time. Like what? Like having a hard time.
I think I got words. I got words because somebody gave them to me.
Okay.
Everything in life is temporary.
Okay.
The good and the bad, the hard, the easy, like all of it will pass with time. And I mean, it's hard to see that when you're in the trenches.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, you know, it's like Tyson's home now. Yeah, I know he won't be soon, but I know he'll be back.
Temporary.
And so it's temporary.
Yeah.
And like when you know that moments don't last forever, you cherish the ones that are good.
Oh.
And like you find the light to be able to get through the ones that are not so good. And I think that's important.
That is important. Thank you for that. And also take a nap.
And take a nap. When life gives you the window, take a nap.
Take a nap. Where can people find you and your wonderful art?
I am on Instagram.
Okay.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Okay.
When I show up there at West Island Designs that's it. I guess there's no, well, I have a website.
Okay.
Yeah. So www.westislanddesigns.com.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
So easy peasy.
Wonderful.
All the same kind of names.
I love it.
Yeah. And I'm around.
Okay. So we're going to look for Catherine's work.
Hunt me down.
Yeah.
Please.
Such beautiful
I have so many
stuff.
paintings.
Yeah. And now we know the story behind it. So I love that.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you, Miss Katherine. And to the families who serve in silence, we see you. We thank you. And to every person, every caregiver and parent doing it all, either as single parent or a solo parent part-time or both, who've experienced both, or the default parent who feels the weight on their shoulders and kind of, holding it all together on their own. All of you, we salute you. We see you. You are not alone. And I want to just thank all of you for joining us here on Sass and Small Talk, the mental load of parenthood, because it takes a village to raise a child and a community to raise their parent. See you on the next episode of Sass and Small Talk. Bye.
I need my sass back.
Signing off. See ya, guys. Bye. Signing off. See ya. Bye.